ما شيء كما مجمع المولد يجلي الكروب.
But he says in the Arabic language,
ما شيء كما مجمع المولد يجلي الكروب.
he says there is nothing.
There is nothing like a gathering of Mawlid that can remove darkness, that can expel difficulties, that can remove trials and tribulations. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the barakah of this Mawlid.
Subhanallah, can you imagine, ya ikhwan, that there is nothing like a gathering of bid'ah which entails shirk and asking madad from other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that can remove darkness. This in itself, subhanallah, is nothing but darkness. Imagine a gathering of shirk and bid'ah. Shirk opposing the crux and the principle, the asl of the deen and the message of the Anbiya and the Rusul. Opposing it, contradicting it, trying to nullify it and to justify shirk. And bid'ah, repelling the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And you say, no, this gathering, it will remove darkness, it will expel the difficulties, and it will remove trials and tribulations. Subhanallah, a'udhu billah. This is why Ibn Mas'ud radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he said, how will it be when you are in a time when bid'ah is taken as sunnah and the sunnah is viewed as bid'ah? And in the end of this clip, then he goes on and he asks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by the barakah of this mawlid.
We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the barakah of this mawlid.
We ask Allah, he's making dua by the barakah of this mawlid.
We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the barakah of this mawlid.
And this bid'ah, this innovated thing, this darkness, this misguidance that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said is misguidance, every bid'ah. And not just that, but it entails shirk, because it entails seeking madad from other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and calling upon other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then you are seeking the barakah thereof. Subhanallah. That how can, it's like you're saying, this sin is mubarak. And imagine somebody disobey Allah and commit a sin and you say, this sin is mubarak. A'udhu billah. But this is the degree that they have gone to. And wallahi, this is a substitution of the deen. And I've said this from the beginning and I will continue to say this. Tashayyu' and tasawwuf, Shiism and Sufism, both of it was introduced by the Persian Shia in order to corrupt the deen of al-Islam for the Muslims. This is why it was instituted, to corrupt the deen of al-Islam for the Muslims. So the Shia substituted the Quran and the Sunnah with imamah, with imams that can legislate and that can, that have the rights and the powers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that determine who's going to Jannah and Jahannam, and that do everything that is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the Sufis, they came with awliya. Awliya that, subhanallah, that they have the same rights. And that they have the powers of Allah, and that control the creation, and some of them are also creating, some of them are even creating, like the Sheikh, what's his name? Jeffrey. Like Jeffrey said, that the wali can create in the womb. Allah gave him the power. A'udhu billah. And they have the aqtab and the abdaw, in different corners of the world, and they are controlling the universe and the rain. They make the rain fall. They leave nothing for Allah. Subhanallah, they leave nothing for Allah. Everything is given to other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Subhanallah. This is the reality of Shiism and Sufism. And remember that tasawwuf, it comes from tashayyu'. Sufism comes from Shiism.
تعلم على العلماء حتى تعرف الإسلام صحيحا. فالمتدينون كثيرون ولكن اللي يتمسكون بالدين الصحيح قليل.
تمسك بحبل الله واتبع الهدى ولا تك بدعيا لعلك تفلح.